Hello, Investing Putts back with you for a weekly update. Quick update in the portfolio. Last week I moved ahead of the virtual SPY portfolio and was able to stay there this week, even after the SPY had a big drop down on Wednesday and Thursday. So hopefully I can hold these gains. Here's a list of my current holdings. I added Boston Scientific to give me some exposure to the pharmaceutical industry. BSX is still well below its pre-COVID peak, and the options premiums are far better than Pfizer's, which is another alternative in that space. I have a poor man's covered call on every stock except for Weight Watchers and US Steel. Weight Watchers had a huge spike up after earnings, and traditionally it trends downward after these big up moves. So I've taken a short-term bearish position with a poor man's covered put. On US Steel, I still have a bear call spread that I actually rolled out a week. It's right in the dance floor, so the short put is at 25 or 27, sorry. And anyway, it's if the stock drops another $1, then I should be able to unload it pretty cheaply. So selecting the strike of a covered call, whether you're selling covered calls against long stock or doing the poor man's covered call, it's kind of a big deal. But it's you can't really find much advice on this that applies to everyone. People seem to boil it down to personal preference. Psychologically, it's tempting to choose the strike of the covered call so that the stock always stays below the strike. So in that case, the covered call expires worthless, and you still you keep the premium from the option, and you keep all the gains in the stock price. But you don't collect very good options premium if you choose your covered call strike so far out of the money that the stock never exceeds that strike. I was watching a segment on Tastytrade from Jim Schultz in the From Theory to Practice series. This is a really good series. Jim's a great teacher, and I've listened to anything that he says. So anyway, he showed this really simple graph of the extrinsic value of an option versus the stock price. It's a cartoon, really, but it got me thinking. So options that are at the money have the most extrinsic value. And if you're an option seller, you want to maximize extrinsic value when you sell the option, and you want to see that extrinsic value decline to zero when the option expires or you buy it back. So this creates some pretty interesting opportunities for covered call selling, and I have a simple example that makes it clear. This example is a poor man's covered call on Intel. I bought a leap option in 7 months, expired in 7 months on January 22nd, 2022. So that leap is currently worth $8.28 and has a delta of 0.7. The stock price is currently at $55.50. Historically, I would have sold 30 delta covered calls. So in this case, the 56.50 strike call expiring on May 28th has a 30 delta and would bring in 62 cents in options premium. So the at the money 55.50 strike call would bring in a much larger premium, $1.08. So let's say that the stock price moves up to 56.50. The value of my leap would increase by about 70 cents to $8.98. The price of the at the money and 30 delta covered calls would also increase to $1.31 and 72 cents respectively. Now let's compare the P&L of the at the money versus the 30 delta philosophy. If I sold the at the money call, I would buy it back for $1.31, then roll the covered call out to the 56.50 strike, which is now at the money. So say that the stock price stays flat out to the expiration, I just let the options expire. Then my net would be $1.19. That would get 70 cents from the rise in the stock price, rise in the leap, and 49 cents of net option premium. So if you compare this to the 30 delta case, notice that I sold the 56.50 strike call for 62 cents and just let it expire. So the net there is $1.32. So in this case, the case where the stock goes up, it was better to sell the 30 delta call, but we only came out 13 cents ahead by selling that at the money call, even though the stock price went well past the call of the strike price of our covered call. Now let's see what happens if the stock price falls to 54.50. The value of the leap drops by about 70 cents down to $7.58. The value of the at the money and 30 delta calls drops to 33 cents and 14 cents respectively. Now let's compare the P&Ls again. So in the at the money case, I sold the original call for $1.08 and bought it back for 33 cents. Then I rolled the covered call down to the 54.50 strike and collected 72 cents of additional premium. If the stock stays flat out to expiration, then I would net a positive 77 cents from selling the at the money call. So wait, what? The value of the leap declines by 70 cents, and yet I come out ahead by 77 cents? That's kind of counterintuitive. So even though the stock price went against my covered call position, I still came out way ahead. In the 30 delta case, I sold the initial call for 62 cents, bought it back for 14, and then rolled it down to the 55.50 strike for another 33 cents in premium. I netted only 11 cents. So this is still much better than losing 70 cents, but the at the money covered calls did far better in this case than the 30 delta. So this is an oversimplified graph comparing covered call selling of the at the money calls versus out of the money calls versus just owning the stock. So if you're simply long the stock, then for every dollar the stock moves up or down, your net moves up or down $1. So that's the definition of a 1 delta. By increasing the delta of the covered call from say 30 delta to 50 delta, you change the slope of the line. So you're hedging your position. You give up some upside, but you also protect against big downside moves by selling these covered calls. Now what's interesting is that selling the at the money covered call seems to not only rotate the curve, but it seems to shift the green curve upward relative to the yellow or red curves, rather than just rotating that line. So in other words, the expected or average net gain seems to rise by selling the at the money calls. So inside the box that contains the typical movement of the stock price, the at the money call seems to be providing the highest expected returns. Personally, I've started selling at the money calls on my portfolio, and I'll report back as things evolve. So what do you think about selling at the money covered calls? Have I missed something here? Would love to hear from you. There's 12 subscribers now, so maybe I'll get some more subscribers. I'm looking forward to getting comments, feedback in the comments section. Learning, that's what it's all about. I wish I knew it all already, but I don't. So anyway, we'll see you next time, and look forward to your feedback. Bye.